You want the job? Start here. If you are preparing for an instructional design interview, don't start by memorizing answers. That's one of the biggest mistakes candidates make. Hi, I'm Uma, an instructional designer with 18 years of experience in learning design, curriculum development, and online course creation. On this channel, I help aspiring and experienced instructional designers build the skills and confidence they need to grow in their careers. One question I get asked all the time is, how do I prepare for an instructional design interview? The truth is, most candidates focus on memorizing perfect answers. But that's not what interviewers are looking for. They want to understand how you think, how you approach learning problems, and how you make instructional design decisions. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 10 of the most commonly asked instructional design interview questions. For every question, I'll explain why interviewers ask it, what are they really looking for, a simple framework to structure your answer, and a practical sample answer you can adapt to your own experience. My goal isn't to help you memorize scripts. It's to help you understand the thinking behind strong interview answers so you can answer confidently in any instructional design interview. If you find this video helpful, subscribe for more practical instructional design content, and let's dive into the first interview question. Tell me about yourself. This is usually the first question in the interview, and it sets the tone for the rest of the conversation. Interviewers already have your resume. They are not asking you to repeat it. They want to understand two things. Can you communicate clearly? Is your experience relevant to this role? What are they really looking for? They are looking for a concise professional introduction that explains what you are doing at present, your experience in instructional design, and why you are interested in this opportunity. One of the biggest mistakes candidates make is starting with "my name is so and so," or talking about where they were born, their family, or listing every job they have had. Remember, this is your professional introduction, not your life story. A simple way to answer this question is to use the present, past, future framework. Start with your current role and what you do. Explain the experience that prepared you for instructional design. Focus on the transition and the skills you gained. End by sharing why you are interested in this role and what you are looking for next. This framework helps you tell a clear story instead of jumping from one job to another. Keep your answer between 60 and 90 seconds. Don't memorize every word. Instead, remember the present, past, future framework and tell your story naturally. A confident, authentic answer will always make a stronger impression than a perfectly memorized script. Now, let's move on to the next interview question. Can you walk me through your instructional design process? Interviewers ask this question to understand how you approach a learning project from start to finish. They are not looking for textbook definitions or a list of instructional design models. They want to know whether you have a structured way of solving learning problems. A simple way to answer this question is to use the ADDIE framework. Remember, don't just explain ADDIE, show how you actually use it in your work. Don't spend 2 minutes explaining what ADDIE stands for. Most interviewers already know it. Instead, spend your time showing how you applied each phase in a real project. Real examples make your answer far more memorable than textbook definitions. Now, let's move on to the next interview question. Tell me about a course you designed. This question helps interviewers understand how you have applied instructional design in a real project. They are not looking for the course itself. They are looking for your role, your decision making, and the impact of your work. One of the biggest mistakes candidates make is spending 5 minutes explaining the course content instead of explaining how they designed it. A simple way to answer this question is by using the STAR framework. What was the business need or learning challenge? What was your responsibility as the instructional designer? What steps did you take to design the learning solution? What was the outcome? Share measurable results if you have them. Don't choose the biggest course you have ever worked on. Choose a course where you can clearly explain your contribution and the decisions you made. Interviewers are evaluating your thinking, not the size of the project. How do you apply adult learning principles in your course design? Interviewers ask this question to see if you design courses based on how adults learn, not just what they need to learn. They are looking for someone who can connect learning theory to real design decisions. They want to know, do you understand adult learning principles? How do you apply them in your projects? Can you design learning that improves performance, not just knowledge? A common mistake is explaining the theory without showing how you actually use it. Use this framework: principle, application, example. Name the adult learning principle. Explain why you apply it in your design. Share a real project where you use it. Don't just name adult learning principles. Explain how they influence your design decisions. Now, let's move on to the next interview question. Do you think designing a course for adults and kids is the same? Why or why not? Interviewers ask this question to understand whether you can adapt your instructional design approach based on your audience. A good instructional designer doesn't use the same strategy for every learner. They design learning around the learner's needs, experience, and motivation. A common mistake is answering with a simple yes or no without explaining your reasoning. Use this framework: similarity, difference, example. Explain what stays the same. Explain what changes based on the audience. Share how you would design differently. Don't answer this question by saying adults and children learn differently. Instead, explain how those differences influence your design decisions. That's what interviewers are really trying to understand. Now, let's move on to the next interview question. How do you decide which learning activities to use? Interviewers ask this question because choosing the right learning activity is an important part of instructional design. They are not looking for a list of activities. They want to understand which activity is the best fit for a particular learning objective. A common mistake is saying, I use quizzes, videos, and case studies. The real question is why you chose those activities. Use this framework: learning objective, learning activity, assessment. Don't choose activities because they are interactive or popular. Choose them because they help learners achieve a specific learning objective. If you can explain why you selected an activity, you are demonstrating strong instructional design thinking. Now let's move on to the next interview question. How do you design assessments that align with learning objectives? Interviewers ask this question because a well-designed assessment measures whether learners have achieved the learning objectives. They are looking to see if you can create assessments that truly evaluate learning, not just test memory. A common mistake is creating the assessment first or using the same type of assessment for every course. Use this framework: learning objective, Bloom's level, assessment method. Your assessment should always match the action verbs in your learning objective. If the objective says identify, don't ask learners to create something. If the objective says apply, don't rely on the multiple choice questions. The closer your assessment is to the real world task learners will perform, the more meaningful your results will be. How do you measure the effectiveness of your training? Interviewers ask this question because completing a course doesn't necessarily mean learning has happened. They want to know how you determine whether your training actually made a difference. They are looking for someone who can measure the impact of training beyond completion rates. Common mistake is saying, I look at course completion rates or quiz scores. Those metrics are useful, but they don't tell the whole story. Use this framework: action, learning, behavior, results. This is based on the Kirkpatrick model, one of the most widely used frameworks for evaluating training effectiveness. Don't stop at quiz scores. A successful training program isn't one where learners score 100% on an assessment. It's one where they apply what they have learned and help improve business performance. What AI tools, course authoring tools, and LMS platforms have you used? Interviewers ask this question to understand your technical skills and how you use technology to improve your instructional design process. They want to know, are you comfortable using modern instructional design tools? How do you use AI to improve efficiency without compromising quality? Have you worked with learning management systems? Can you choose the right tool for the right task? A common mistake is listing every tool you have ever used without explaining how you use it. Use this framework: tool, purpose, example. Name the tool, explain what you use it for, describe how you use it in a real project. Technology changes quickly, so interviewers don't expect you to know every tool. What matters is your ability to learn new tools quickly and explain why you chose a particular tool for a specific project. Strong instructional designers are recognized by their design decisions, not by the number of tools on the resume. Let's move on to a common behavioral interview question. Can you describe a situation where subject matter expert disagreed with your recommendations? Why do interviewers ask this question? Instructional designers work closely with subject matter experts, and disagreements are a normal part of the design process. Interviewers ask this question to understand how you handle feedback, resolve conflicts, and build strong working relationships. They are looking for someone who can communicate professionally, balance the SME's expertise with the learner's needs, resolve disagreements through collaboration, not confrontation, keep the project moving forward. A common mistake is making the SME sound difficult or saying, I convinced them that I was right. That's not what interviewers want to hear. Use this framework: situation, action, resolution, outcome. What was the disagreement? What did you do? How did you work together to reach a solution? What was the final result? When answering behavioral questions, don't focus on proving that you were right. Focus on showing that you listened, collaborated, and made decisions based on learner needs and project goals. That's what hiring managers are looking for. That brings us to the end of the most common instructional design interview questions. I hope these frameworks and sample answers help you approach your next interview with more confidence. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who is preparing for an instructional design interview. You never know, this one video could help someone land the job they have been working toward. And when you get that offer, come back and let me know in the comments. I would genuinely love to celebrate that moment with you. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all the very best for your interview. You have got this.